All right, so today let's dive into something that's super important.
Okay.
Accessibility in design.
Great topic.
We've got a really great mix of sources today.
Oh, cool.
We've got articles, we've got actual guidelines, and even some real-world examples.
Awesome.
So we can really make this practical for all of you designers out there.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about how many people might be missing out on your designs without you even realizing it?
It's something that it happens more often than you think.
Yeah?
The UN estimates that 15% of the world's population has some kind of disability,
Wow.
which is a massive audience to overlook.
Yeah, that's huge.
Absolutely.
Okay, so first things first, what exactly is accessibility?
Right.
I mean, it sounds like something every designer should care about.
Yeah.
But what does it actually look like in practice?
So at its core, it's about making sure that digital products are usable by everyone, regardless of ability.
Okay.
And this goes beyond just checking boxes for compliance.
Right.
It's really about understanding the diversity of human experience and designing with that in mind.
Got it. So not just designing for people who are exactly like us.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
And, to guide us, we have these internationally recognized standards called the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines,
Okay.
or WCAG for short.
WC, I got it.
And they basically provide a solid framework for building inclusive designs.
Okay. A roadmap to make sure we're on the right track.
Exactly.
And within those guidelines, I've heard about these POUR principles.
Yes.
What's the deal with those?
So POUR stands for Perceivable, Operable, Understandable, and Robust.
Okay.
And they form the bedrock of accessible design.
Okay, I like it. POUR.
Easy to remember.
Yeah. Simple and memorable. So let's break it down. What does perceivable mean in design terms?
So think of it as providing multiple ways for people to input information that you're presenting.
Okay.
So for example, if you've got an image on your website, you need alt text so that someone who can't see the image can still understand what's there.
Like subtitles for a video. They help everyone, not just people with hearing issues.
Exactly, and it highlights a key point.
Okay.
Accessible design often benefits everyone, not just people with disabilities.
I like that.
Yeah.
Now, one of the articles we dug into, it talks about these hidden hover states causing accessibility problems.
Yes.
What are those and why are they an issue?
So imagine you're using speech recognition software
Okay.
to navigate a website. If a button only appears when you hover your mouse over it,
Right.
the software won't know it's there.
Ah. Okay.
So hidden actions like that are a no-go for accessibility.
So as designers, how can we make sure we're not accidentally creating these hover state traps?
Yeah.
What are some good alternatives?
Well, the key is to ensure that all important actions and information are visible without relying solely on those hover states.
Okay.
So you could use things like secondary actions within a menu, or even subtle visual cues
Right.
that don't rely on mouse movements.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to the O in POUR. Operable.
Yes.
What makes a design truly operable?
So operable means that users can interact with the interface effectively,
Okay.
regardless of their input method.
Right.
So keyboard accessibility is a huge part of this.
Mm.
Not everyone uses a mouse.
Right.
You need to make sure that everything can be accessed using just the keyboard.
That makes me think about website navigation. Is there anything specific designers should keep in mind there to make it operable?
Definitely navigation needs to be clear, consistent, and easy to understand.
Yeah.
You know those hamburger menus that are everywhere these days?
Oh, yeah.
Can could be a real nightmare for accessibility.
Oh, I totally get it. Sometimes it feels like I'm on a scavenger hunt just to find what I'm looking for.
Exactly.
So a clear bottom row of icons, like in some mobile apps,
Yeah.
would be a much better choice.
It's exactly. Providing clear visual cues and labels makes navigation accessible and user-friendly for everyone.
I like it. Okay, so we've covered perceivable and operable.
Right.
What about the U in POUR? Understandable.
Yeah.
What makes a design understandable from an accessibility standpoint?
So this is all about ensuring that the content and the functionality are easy for everyone to grasp.
Okay.
So things like clear language, helpful error messages, and an overall intuitive experience are really crucial.
So it's not just about making things accessible.
Right.
It's about making them user-friendly for everyone.
Exactly.
Got it.
Think about filling out a form online.
Okay.
If the instructions are unclear or the error messages are confusing, it's frustrating for anyone. But it can be especially challenging for someone with a cognitive disability.
That's true.
Yeah.
One of the sources we looked at had a really great example showing 4 different versions of a form design each with a different level of accessibility.
Yes, those examples highlighted how even simple changes, like clear field labels and error messages that don't rely solely on color,
Right.
can dramatically improve usability.
It's amazing how something like voicemail transcription, which was initially designed to make voicemail accessible to people with hearing impairments, has become a feature we all rely on now.
Oh, absolutely.
Accessibility truly does benefit everyone.
That's a perfect example. And, when we look at those 4 form designs,
Yeah.
in that accessibility ebook that we looked at,
Yeah.
it really highlights how just a few thoughtful tweaks can make a huge difference in usability, whether you have a disability or not.
Totally. And those improvements benefit everyone,
Yeah,
not just people with disabilities.
exactly.
So understandable design is really just good design, period.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
It's about anticipating user needs,
Mm-hmm.
providing clear instructions,
Right.
and designing interactions that are intuitive and predictable.
All right, last but not least, let's tackle R for robust.
Okay.
What makes a design robust in terms of accessibility?
So robustness is about making sure that your design will work seamlessly across different platforms,
Okay.
browsers, and assistive technologies.
Got it.
So it's about building a solid foundation that can adapt to different user needs and technological contexts.
So future-proofing our designs
Exactly.
and ensuring they can stand the test of time.
Precisely.
Okay.
And a big part of this is following web standards
Mm-hmm.
and writing clean code.
Okay.
When you adhere to those established guidelines, you increase the likelihood that your design is going to work well in a variety of environments.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay, we've covered the POUR principles:
We have.
perceivable, operable,
Yeah.
understandable, and robust.
We did it.
But what does this all mean for designers practically?
Right.
What are some tangible things we can do to bake accessibility into our work?
That's the key question, right?
Yeah.
Where the rubber meets the road. So let's dive into some practical takeaways that you can start using right away.
Perfect. Hit us with the actionable insights.
First up, color contrast. Okay.
This is foundational to accessible design
Mm-hmm.
and something that all designers need to be mindful of.
So making sure there's enough difference between text color and background color
Exactly.
for people with visual impairments to read easily.
Exactly. The WCAG guidelines actually specify minimum contrast ratios for body text and large text.
Okay.
4.5 to 1 for body text and 3 to 1 for large text.
So we can't just use any color combination we like.
Right.
We have to make sure it meets these contrast standards.
Correct. And luckily, there are some awesome tools out there to help designers test their designs quickly.
Okay.
One of the most popular is the WebIM Color Contrast Checker.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Super handy. Okay,
Right.
so color contrast, check.
Check.
What else should we be thinking about?
Forms. Forms are another crucial area for accessibility.
Mm-hmm.
Think about clear field labels, error messages that don't rely solely on color,
Right?
and making sure that users can review and correct their information easily. I remember seeing some examples of well-designed forms in one of our sources.
Yes.
They were so much easier to use and understand than some of the forms I've seen out in the wild.
Absolutely. Those examples demonstrated how thoughtful design can make a huge difference in the user experience, especially for people with disabilities.
So Yakov forms another area to prioritize.
Yes.
How about images and videos?
Okay.
What are the key things to keep in mind there?
For images, it comes back to providing alt text. Those concise descriptions that allow screen readers to convey the meaning of the image
Right.
to users who can't see it.
Right, like we discussed with the perceivable principle.
Exactly.
And for videos?
Captions are a must.
Okay.
They not only benefit people with hearing impairments,
Right.
but also anyone who's watching in a noisy environment, or even those who prefer to watch without sound.
Okay.
And most video platforms and content management systems make it super easy to add captions these days.
I've definitely noticed that. It's great to see captions becoming more readily available.
For sure.
Okay, we've got color contrast forms, images and videos covered.
We've covered a lot.
Anything else designers should be doing to ensure that their designs are truly accessible?
Testing.
Yeah.
Usability testing with people with disabilities is the gold standard for truly understanding how accessible your design is.
Right.
Get real-world feedback from real users and use it to make your design even better.
You know, testing our designs with people with disabilities seems like the gold standard for truly understanding how well we're doing, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's one thing to follow guidelines, but real-world feedback from diverse users is invaluable.
Makes total sense.
Right.
But even with all of this knowledge, accessibility can feel kind of overwhelming sometimes.
Right.
There's so much to consider. How can designers approach this without getting totally bogged down?
I think that's a really common feeling.
Yeah.
Just remember that accessibility is a journey, not a destination. Focus on the fundamentals first. Get a grasp of those POUR principles, implement the practical steps that we've talked about, and gradually just weave accessibility into your design process.
Progress over perfection.
Exactly. And keep in mind that it's not just about meeting guidelines.
Right.
It's about creating inclusive and enjoyable experiences for all users.
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive.
Yeah.
It feels like accessible design isn't just about meeting guidelines. It's about creating a more inclusive and enjoyable digital world for everyone.
Yeah.
What's really fascinating is that one of our sources even said that accessibility, instead of being a limitation, can actually inspire creativity.
And what's so exciting is that accessibility, far from being a barrier, can actually spark some serious creativity.
Exactly. It pushes us to think outside the box, consider different perspectives, and ultimately design better products for everyone.
Absolutely. It forces us to think differently, consider a wider range of needs, and that can lead to truly innovative solutions.
Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground today. We explored the POUR principles, got into some practical tips for designers, and even touched on how accessibility can fuel creative thinking. What stands out to you as the most important takeaway for designers when it comes to accessibility?
For me, it's understanding that accessible design benefits everyone. It's not just about making things usable for people with disabilities. It's about making products more usable, efficient, and enjoyable for all users.
I love that perspective. It's not about limitations, it's about expanding possibilities for everyone. So for all the designers out there listening, remember, accessible design isn't just good practice, it's good business. It's about creating products everyone can use and enjoy.
It leads to better products, happier users, and a more inclusive digital world for all.